Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Hall of Fame show. And I'm Kirk Buchner, and I've got a special guest because Evan Nolan is on secret assignment. It's possible. It's possible. So I've asked Chris Mouradian to sort of like step in as we look at all the Hall of Fame related news. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Kirk. How you been today?
Doing good, doing good. So some of our Hall of Fame related news, it's actually some halls that I generally don't talk about a whole hell of a lot, but it's still something that I get a kick out of. So I guess we'll go right to it if that's all right. Uh,
Yeah, I'm good with that.
yeah, I don't know if you are or not. Are you big into country music?
It's a genre of music I enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you might have to sort of like quarterback a bit of this one here. The Country Music Hall of Fame has announced their class of 2024, and before I sort of go into that, kudos to how they do it. They do a phenomenal job in methodically sort of like picking everything out. They came to the dance early, so they just have three inductees: a modern, a senior, and then a rotating group, kind of like what the baseball hall does. So the main inductee this year is Toby Keith, who sadly, or maybe not sadly, if you're a fan of the Dixie Chicks or just the Chicks, or if that's offensive, just the. Well, that's actually a British band, but anyway, uh, he's the modern inductee. Apparently, from what I've read, he was already decided, and then he never learned about it. 3 days later, or just a few days later, he passed away.
Right. Yeah. He had been selected, but did not get a chance to be notified or enjoy it while he was here.
Yeah,
So his passing had no impact on any of the voting.
it doesn't appear so. I don't know how many of the voters, because I don't really know who the voting body is, whether they knew he was ill or not, because that could potentially impact how they think. See McMichael, comma Steve. I don't say that to be rude, but I don't know if he's necessarily going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame without that. But the resume is there. He had lots of country hits, uh, a plethora of number ones. That's the one thing about country music that I sort of respect. Once you sort of like get into their genre, they love you, and you can sort of like be you can have a hit at 21 and a hit at 41, and no one's batting an eye.
Mhm. Yeah. He kind of had a different, I don't know what you want to call it. He wasn't a goofy guy like, parody guy, but some of the songs were not exactly the most serious or deep. Red Solo Cup.
Mhm.
Obviously one of his better known hits, and a good party song. He also made a lot of fans with a lot of his patriotic music after 9/11 terrorist attacks, which kind of pushed him into that.
A different category,
Yeah, right.
right or
That
wrong.
sort of
Yeah.
right. But that really kind of helped boost his star there. Um,
Uh,
I do listen to quite a bit of country music myself. Uh, have a number of Toby's songs on my playlist, so very familiar with his music, and I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's kind of like a fun musician. Guy just was out there having a good time, and
yeah.
the fans seem to gravitate towards him. So his selection is well deserved, and his loss is felt.
Yeah. I kind of was a little bit bothered. Again, I'm not, again, a country guy by any stretch, but like maybe the day of his passing, maybe we just don't sort of like do a bunch of gifs or gifs, whatever we call that, of Natalie Maines being happy. Because
Yeah,
we don't know if she was. Yeah, she might have been really pissed off at that point in time, but I don't know.
she may have moved on, just been happy with her life and where her
It,
life has taken her.
it's altogether possible. I mean, like, I kind of ripped on them a little bit earlier, but I do actually think they're colossally talented. Uh, Toby is a better Country Music Hall of Fame inductee to me, for whatever that's worth. But and maybe not a whole hell of a lot because I just said this is not my genre at all. I've
Yeah,
had,
he
go
may
ahead.
have had a broader appeal to across the spectrum with some of his more fun songs. I think more people probably heard of him because of songs like Red Solo Cup than
Mhm.
maybe would have otherwise.
Yeah, and I think it's a good inductee. We
Hmm.
got two other ones. For the senior category, John Anderson. I'm not that familiar with him other than his smash in the late or early '80s, rather swinging. Do you have anything to sort of add on John Anderson?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's been around for a number of years, more that earlier countries, not the modern country, so a little bit different style than what you're used to hearing today if you listen to country music on the radio. Um, I think he won a number of like Academy of Country Music Awards,
Mhm.
uh, and I think he was nominated for a Grammy. I don't think he actually won it though. So he's somebody that had some hits out there that resonated with a lot of people.
Mhm.
Had a long career. I think he was still
Still
churning
on.
out music. Yeah. So another person that seems to be a well deserved inductee.
Yeah. So the other one seems like like this is a gem here. In the session category or session slash sideman slash whatever they want to call it. James Burton. Oh my God, he started as a session player in the late '50s, playing for like Ricky Nelson, Elvis, the Everly Brothers. Later on, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Elvis Costello. What the hell?
Hey, when you're good, they find you.
Yeah,
And
I'll leave it at this. If you're inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which he was by Keith Richards, good enough for me.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So congratulations to those three, and thank you to because I don't do the country thing. There is a section on my on notinhalloffame.com. I'm not qualified to do it, so there is a gentleman who wants to sort of like remain semi-anonymous. So I'll respect that. He does all of that, and these are all people that were sort of on his radar. So I just want to respect that. Uh, the other big Hall of Fame news is the Video Game Hall of Fame, which, man, I'm old. I never heard of half of these.
Well, I think I at least heard half of them. So whether I played them or not is another story.
I stopped playing this stuff for a long time ago, just only because I'd never get any work done. I was obsessed with Mad. No, I'm dead serious. I missed work just so that I could play NBA Live.
Okay.
And then right before I sort of like met my wife, thank God, I just said like, "What the hell am I doing?" And I stopped doing it.
I've taken days off work to play Diablo, so I know where that comes from.
Yeah, the only thing is, well, and kudos to those if you're good enough to sort of like make money at it. I was not. I would always play all the sports games on easy mode, and then I'd be this guy who just sort of like, okay, so like, all right, Vince Carter just got like 84 points here, so let's see. I was that guy. Never said I
It's all
was
right.
Chris.
It's all right. Nothing wrong with that. It's fun.
I'm so uncool. I'm going to put on my reading glasses here while I sort of like, yeah. And if you think that I'm the guy, the old guy from Up, you might be right. So I'm just going to read some of the stuff here from the nominees.
Okay.
Well, some I will, some I won't, because some I think I know pretty well. The first one, asteroids. I remember that one as a kid, so I'm not going to go
Yeah,
into.
I think
But
that's probably probably one of the most recognizable names on this ballot here this time around.
yeah, I mean that one I know. I've heard of it. So there's that. The second one I've never heard of, Elite. So this is from the write-up from the video hall. Developed in Great Britain and released in '84, Elite pioneered innovative 3D graphics and the idea of an open world games by allowing players to control ships that roam the galaxy. I'm not going to continue anymore. I've never heard of it. You?
I have not. It sounds interesting, especially for 3D back in 1984. So probably was a little bit groundbreaking there.
I guess so, yeah. All right, what do we got here? Guitar Hero. Well, I know that
There you
one.
go. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the reason why the next generation after us, well, more me, because like you're significantly younger than I am.
Mm-mm.
No,
About 300 and some days younger.
I thought you were in your early 40s.
No, early 50s.
Okay, we're the same age. Shit. Okay, there you go. Well, I don't know why I thought that.
It's all
All right,
right.
all
It's
right.
your
Well, yeah. Well, okay, so we're both old as fuck then. We've established that. But Guitar Hero is one of those things where I guess your kids, because I don't have any that I've ever met, uh, at this point they'd be over 20. So like ain't no money for you. Too late. So with Guitar Hero, that one's sort of interesting. I wonder how many people who are that young think, I wonder if these are real songs.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because a lot of these songs were obviously made or popular before they picked up the guitar. So yeah, I would assume that they may question that, but hopefully they have enough parental in, interaction that they'd heard them on the radio driving to the sports games.
Probably not. I actually stopped dating a woman before this is before I met my wife. So do you remember the what do you call it? It was Saturday Night Live, and it was the cowbell sketch.
Oh yeah, yeah. Christopher
Yeah.
Walken.
Yeah. So we were driving to Boston on a road trip, her and I. I forget why. Doesn't matter why. So I had one of those early iPods. So like I downloaded a bunch of music. That was back in the Napster days, right? So there was Don't Fear the Reaper coming on. And she goes, huh, how'd you download it from Saturday Night Live? Like, what are you talking about? This is a real song. I think we broke up a week later.
I, okay, not everybody's musically inclined, I guess.
Uh, well, I'm not as much as I used to be, but yeah, Guitar Hero. I mean, you can't argue with this. I mean, like 25 million units sold 60 million tracks, 2 billion. There you go.
Yeah,
Here's a name I know, but I don't know much about it. Metroid.
yeah, same. I saw it on the ballot, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I've heard of that, but I couldn't picture ever playing it or
Hmm.
really, visualize any gameplay from it. So that's when I'd like to look into a little more and find out more about it.
Yeah, so it seems like a lot of early role playing, and then inserted. What does it say? Inserted players into a futuristic world brimming with innovative adventure and evocative music. What does that mean? Who wrote this? I don't know. Mist. You know Mist.
I've heard of it.
You're better than me.
Never played it though.
Yeah, I think whoever sort of put this in just sort of like said flowery AI, and that's what they did. I found a
Okay.
bunch of typos and everything too. Not that my writing's perfect either. Uh, I can just imagine a lot of people saying you got this wrong, this wrong. Yeah, I did. Okay. Released by Broderbund. I'm assuming that's German.
Sounds it. Yeah.
In '93, Mist welcomed players to a mesmerizing world of mysterious puzzles and haunting vistas. Okay, this is the line I love. The game harnessed early CD-ROM technology, which offered high storage capacity but slow loading times. Clearly, that was written by somebody under 30 because they're taking a shit at us.
Yeah, they don't remember the days of dial-up.
I can't do the sounds.
No.
Yeah. Exactly. I remember the first time I heard that, I thought my mind, right, was just completely blown. Another one I've never heard of, Neopets. Do you know
Yeah.
anything about that
Another
one?
one, I've never heard of that one either.
Well, I guess you just sort of like have fake pets. I'm not going to go into it. I just like my real pets. Because this one I do know, SimCity.
Yep. SimCity, I played that one years ago, probably 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah, so like I guess developed into The Sims. I never heard of actually SimCity, but I heard of The Sims.
Mhm.
And then I had an ex-wife who played a lot of that. Maybe that's why she's an ex. I don't know where the hell she is. If you're watching, screw off. I still hate you. But anyway, this one seems like a like one that was very influential. Maybe not
Mhm.
in necessarily the best way. I don't know because I don't know how about this whole virtual life for a lot of the people coming up. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, the whole meta world and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it seems a little weird, a little creepy.
Speaking of creepy, this is the great segue here because I never heard of this one either. And at least I have an excuse because apparently you never left Japan. Uh, back on here. All right, I'm back on the up guy. Uh, Tokimeki Memorial. All right, I'm going to read this one complete here. Konami's Sateki Memorial brought a cohesive narrative, colorful graphics, unparalleled depth of choices, and engaging gameplay to the dating simulating genre after its launch in 1994. What does that mean?
AI girlfriend, AI boyfriend,
In 90, I guess.
simulated dating simulator, and that's you know test dating.
Uh,
I don't know. That's obviously, like you said, it never
Ground zero
localized
for
outside Japan.
incels. I
So
don't know what to say here. Again, because I look so goddamn cool, but swear, married, really. But anyway, uh, while it was never localized outside of Japan, its impact on game design was widespread, paving the way for graphic adventure games, visual novels, dating sims, and role-playing games to invest more in personal relationships as part of the gameplay loop, while people are just not having actual personal relationships.
yeah, well,
I,
I guess if you read into that, maybe it was besides the content, it was good at advancing graphics.
I don't know. Again, I'll sort of like expose myself because I was so goddamn cool. I remember as a teenager, me and a friend, we got this little, it was still discs that you put into something, right? And it was like video strip poker. And we played for 3 hours just to see like 7 pixels that looked like a bush.
I
Again,
remember those for the old Apple IIe computers.
yeah, because again, I was so cool with women. Ay. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. This one I remember. Uh, as Tony Hawk had said it here in the bio that he's actually more known for that than his actual skating. And yeah, no, that was I remember a lot of people playing that. I didn't because I wasn't really into the extreme sports, but I remember a lot of people who were really into that. So that could be a good one. There's two more. One I don't know, one I do. Ultima, the first Age of Darkness, helping define the computer role-playing genre. Hmm? Sounds like Dungeons and Dragons to me, but which isn't whatever. And
Not a
then
bad thing.
no, and then you don't know Jack.
Yeah, I never played the game. Um, Never watched the show, but
Yeah,
remembered
that
it
one I did
from.
because I was like really big into trivia and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And I don't know if you know this. You know, Evan was on Jeopardy.
Yeah, I've heard him mention that in some of our
Right.
calls, and
Yeah.
that's awesome. I was trying back when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Oh
That
yeah.
was uh, that was a step away from being there. I did. I was in the pool of people to be selected. I wasn't selected, so
You
oh
pissed
well.
off Regis, didn't you?
I didn't get a chance to. He didn't even let me get to the studio.
There you go. Well, Evan
Yeah,
did finish, as he'll tell you, he finished in the top three.
there you go. That's all you have to do.
Absolutely.
Um, we did miss one as you were going through there though.
Oh, did I miss one?
Resident Evil. Yeah, Resident Evil.
Oh shit. Yes, I did. I apologize. Yeah. That one I do know. Well, I know it. I know it's a big deal, but I've never played it. So I guess for people into horror video games, apparently that's huge.
It
Did
is, and I
they make
believe it's
movies out
got
of that? I
Yeah,
know
it's
I'm
got
sounding like a
movies.
boomer, but like I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, no, I mean it's definitely got a following still. It's one of the games I recognize the name right away when I saw it on the ballot, but again, not one that I played.
Mhm.
Looks like it was early PlayStation on the cover art there. So that was I was doing a lot of PC games at that time, not the
Yeah.
um, console games. So
Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm not much of a gamer. I played a lot of those sports games, and I just went cold turkey because I got too obsessed. And then every
yeah,
now and then I'll break out Age of Empires.
not a bad thing.
Yeah, every city is named Kirktopia.
Why shouldn't it be? It's your
There
world.
you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Again, always play it on easy mode so that I can always beat everybody. I'm
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm a 5'7" old bully in my head, I guess. I don't know what to say. So there's a couple other things that I want to discuss. I am going to do my elevator this week. Uh,
Okay.
I know you've watched what Evan and I do, so I don't know if you've got a good, bad, and ugly that you want to look at, or just some comments, or do you want to take over a smorgasbord where you just sort of like give something on your.
Ooh. Um, don't really have any grievances this week to air. Um,
I
uh,
can throw one at you and see what you think.
yeah, why don't we do that? Let's see what happens. Throw a topic out there and see where we go.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Uh, all right, so I know there were some snubs. We're recording this on day one of March Madness.
Hmm.
Hope this will probably go up earlier than some of the other ones that you and I have actually done, because this one we try to make timely. But I'm going to say this. Yeah, maybe you can be snubbed on March Madness, but if you can't make a field of 68, fuck off. I say this pretty much every year. Just like win a couple more games through the year. You've got your time, you've got that. I don't have any sympathy for you.
Sure. I mean, the seasons are not short. They're long seasons. There's quite a few different levels of competition for most teams out there.
Yeah,
If you may be in a tougher conference than some of the other ones, but still you got to win the games to make it. And like you
yeah,
said, 68 teams. I know there's some automatic bids and stuff that goes into it, but if you're good enough, you're out there and you're in the tournament.
yeah. And if you're saying, well, I'm not going to go in the NIT, man, screw off. Like I've got no sympathy for any of that. I really don't. And it's not even that I don't disagree that some of the teams who were left off shouldn't have been there. I do agree,
Mhm.
but you had ample time to sort of like put a distance between you, and you didn't do it. There's
Yeah, and I know
six,
some.
8 bids.
Yeah, and like it's mentioned, some of them are automatic bids for 1 year conference, and there's some of the
Yeah.
lesser competition conferences. But some of those teams that get in there, and those are some of the most fun games because you never know what to expect. You may get a big blowout, you may get
It's
a one
fun.
over or a 16-over-1 upset. Sometimes it comes down to the last shot. I don't
Mhm.
know how many times I remember watching Princeton, take a number one or number two seed down to like the last minute with all their rudimentary plays, the backdoor cuts and everything else like that. Back when I was in high school, my when I was big into that. So no, I agree. There's the season's not short. Win the games and you'll get there.
So do you cheer like did you go to university? Like,
I did not. No, I'm a high school graduate.
all right, so then who do you cheer for in college? Because I know you follow this stuff too. Like Wisconsin,
Um,
I'm guessing, or just in
yeah,
college sports in general.
yeah. Cheer against Marquette. Cheer.
Oh,
Uh,
why?
I just never been a fan of Marquette.
Okay, no fair. I'm just curious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they're the more local team, but nah, they just nah. Yeah, follow Wisconsin Badgers because they have the higher profile with the football, the basketball, the
Mhm.
hockey. Um, so that's really the kind of the college team that I cheer for most. And actually, the second is Notre Dame.
Okay.
So yeah, not local, but yeah.
Well, there's no wrong answer. I'm just curious. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to look at some of the people who we lost. Evan does this way better than I do. I don't have much of a filter, as you may have learned. So I'm going to do the best I can here and treat this with the proper decorum. And I'm sure when he comes back from his hiatus, he'll bring out a few people that I've missed. So I'm going to start off with music. Steve Harley passed away at the age of 73. Steve Harley and Cowboy Rebel. They did quite a bit well in the 70s in the English music scene. No,
Not familiar. Not familiar with
I wasn't that
music.
familiar either.
All right.
The age of 81, Sandra Crouch, a Grammy winner for female gospel. Here's something I found interesting. She played on the Jackson 5 songs, ABC and I Want You Back, playing the tambourine. How hard was that?
Yeah. Somebody's got to do it. And she was the most qualified.
Does anyone have to do it, really? Here.
Okay.
Okay. This one could do it. All right. Send your hate letters to me. So here's one I remember from the what was it? Okay, from Soft Machine, died at 85. Jimmy Hastings. He was also in Caravan, played the flute, sax, clarinet. That was also like in that whole weird Jethro Tull era, where where progressive rock just went in like God knows every direction. And a name that we talked about before we went on, because you wanted to know if I was going to mention him. And this is actually also for Evan, because Evan loves these character actors. So, buddy, I got your back. Emmett Walsh. I looked at his whole laundry list of everything that he did. He was never, I don't think he was ever the lead 4 or 5 in anything he ever did. Doesn't matter. Serpico, Blade Runner, Ordinary People, Reds, Silkwood, The Jerk. Where is the sniper?
Yeah.
Dickie Dunn, as we talked about in
Yep.
and he was also in another sports movie as the diving coach in Back to School.
Back to School. Thornton Mellon. Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah. Yeah. Dickie Dunn was probably the role I think most people, they saw him on TV.
For our
That's probably
purposes,
what they put him for.
yeah. But yeah, he worked forever. According to his agent, from what Wikipedia says, 119 film roles and over 250 television roles.
Yeah.
Okay. It's one of those guys, as Evan always likes to say, you may not know the name, but if you Google him and see that picture, you're going to know exactly who it is.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. 119 movie roles. So you had to see him in something.
Yeah, and a few of those ones that we just mentioned, they were Oscar nominated or just even like in our little sports world. It's like, okay, you need a grandpa. Well, he works. You need a curmudgeonly, cranky chief. He works.
Yeah.
He just did everything. So yeah, kudos to him. I just watched Back to School again too.
Did you? Okay.
I don't know why. I have it on Pluto sometimes as I'm working during the day. It was just like 80s films. It was like there he was.
Yeah, those that you mentioned there, The Jerk was the last one I saw, which is a month and a half, 2 months ago or so.
Yeah, just a great film.
Yeah.
We lost a few athletes. So I'll just go through here. Don Smerrick. This is where I wish Paul was here, because he was a former Cowboy from 1980 to 1987. So I'm sure that was sort of his, because he's around the same age that we are. So that was kind of his coming of age as a Cowboys fan. Never was a Pro Bowler, but defensive tackle for a lot of great teams. So we lost him. In basketball, Dave Gunther, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It might be Gunther, I don't know. Had a cup of coffee with the Detroit Pistons and the then named San Francisco Warriors. But as again, we talked about this before. The two big names for us, usually whenever Evan and I do this, there's always giant names, and thankfully there's not. But Not that I'm disregarding the two names we're going to do here, but we lost two main hockey players, both by their own hands.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. Konstantin Koltsov, I remember him a little bit with the Penguins, but he was mostly, doing well in the KHL. Only 43, he threw himself off a building.
Yeah. I think he said death by jumping. So not a, not a good story there.
No, he, I don't know quite why he did what he did. He was in a relationship. I thought he wasn't currently, but that wasn't the case with a former number two tennis player, Anya Sabalenka, also from Belarus. So for whatever reason, he did what he did. I mean, I don't know if it's a CTE thing because that sort of ties in with what we're going to talk about with Chris Simon. But
Yeah. I mean, he didn't have the same type of playing style as Chris Simon, but
um,
with CTE, you're still learning a lot about it. It could have just been one really nasty hit. It could have been a number of repeated hits. So, yeah,
well,
anytime somebody kind of takes their own life, there's obviously more to it than what really gets out there.
well, let's talk about Chris Simon because I mean, if you just go by Wikipedia, it says, well, he had CTE symptoms, which bluntly, that's bullshit because you don't know that until you actually do an autopsy.
Right. Yeah, you
Uh,
need to actually see the brain.
right. So saying that, Simon was 52. Uh, and I think I've told you this before. I grew up as a Nordique fan. And then I sort of like had to abandon that because I was in my Captain Canada phase when they moved to Colorado. I'm not going to like follow a non-Canadian. But anyway, meanwhile, every other week, hey, Chris, the U.S. is better than us. But anyway, but that's another story for here or there. Simon was a slugger. We don't have a lot of those now, and maybe that's not the worst thing. I mean, I'll admit, I love a good hockey fight. I love it.
Hmm.
Saying that, it was a different era then, and Chris Simon was one of those guys from everything I've read and everything I've learned and everything I've watched on YouTube, whatnot. He had that on-off switch. Off the ice, he was like everyone loved him. On the ice, thank God he's on my team.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the most feared players during his era. You if you were challenging him, you were really had your work cut out for you.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was a different era. A lot of teams had a player like a Chris Simon on their team
Mhm.
that was, you know, there to make sure that you know the superstars were allowed to be superstars.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with Chris Simon, and along with a lot the other quote unquote goons of that era, Simon found his role there. Simon could score. He wasn't a shit player in terms of getting the puck in the net. What is it? 305 points over 864 games, and that's a lot better than a lot of the players of that era who
Mhm.
had the same role. Simon could score, but he had a better role and he could stay in the league longer doing this. And I've talked to like former goons who just basically said that's what they had to do to sort of like get a longer career. Sadly for Chris Simon, uh, I don't quite know how this happened. I couldn't find that out. Like he obviously made decent money. Like you're playing in the NHL for over 10 years. Even the 90s, you're not making as much as you do now, but he went bankrupt.
Right.
So something happened. His wife left him. Just everything went to shit for him, and he killed himself, possibly due to depression, PTSD. We don't know. We don't know why he did what he did. I don't know if we're going to know if he did have CTE. My understanding about that is you're only going to learn that if you sort of like agree to donate your brain ahead of time to that foundation that's set up in Boston by Chris Nowitzki. but it's not the first time that we've seen a former NHL fighter die before 60.
No, Gino Ojic,
Mhm.
another well-known
Yeah,
tough
for your
guy fighter
Canucks.
from that era.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Canucks, yep.
Mhm.
I mean, he had some ongoing medical issues as well, so yeah,
Right.
his life was shortened
Mhm.
from that. But I think we have Bugard, Probert, I think Link Gates, since that name
Yeah.
rings a bell. So
We,
yeah, I mean those,
we've got a few.
yeah, so those guys, they put the hard miles on their bodies just to scratch out a career in the league. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, like you said, those the hockey fight, two guys squaring off,
Mhm.
it's still one of the more exciting um,
It is. I mean,
plays in a game. I mean, you see the
yeah,
fans, they get on their feet, they won't,
I'm one of them.
absolutely, and same here. And it's kind of unfortunate that so many of these players that kind of fill that role have struggled since then. And it's a shame we lost so many so young.
Yeah, so over 1,800 penalty minutes, 6 suspensions of 85 games. If you look at Chris Simon, just as Wikipedia, it's pretty much suspension, suspension, suspension. But he was a better player than so many of these goons. He really was. I'm trying to think of who was the one for the Sabres in the early 80s. I want to say Lindy Ruff, but I might be wrong on that.
80s
Yeah, early 80s. Damn,
could
much
have
fun
been
was here.
could have been rough. You
Yeah.
said Sabres, I immediately went to Rob Ray, but he was 90s.
You know what? That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, Rob Ray, who's got like thousands of penalty minutes, hardly any points. But
Mhm.
Simon, over 300. I mean, he could do that job, better than most. He was just sort of like paid to sort of like click a switch. And
Right.
he did it well. And for whatever reason, he couldn't keep what he made. I don't know. I mean, like, I was trying to find that out. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
That one got to me a little bit more than I thought. Every now and then, sometimes these ones get to me more, maybe because we're the same age.
But yeah, it's somebody you grew up, you not grow up and watched. I mean, you watched him play, and you saw him on a number of games, and
Yeah, real
you
time.
remember the
Yeah.
name. And yeah,
Well, he was
and
also a Quebec
uh,
Nordique, right? That was his first team.
mhm. That's where he
And
came up. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I did win a Stanley Cup when the team moved to Colorado.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, also, I should also mention, played for Washington, like you said, Chicago,
Mhm.
the Rangers, Calgary, New York, extended his career for another 5 years in the KHL. So, yeah, for whatever reason, just things didn't go well. I think he died in his home, like in Manitoulin Island. I think
I
I'm,
didn't see that in the story
yeah.
yet, so I'm not going
So,
to say yes or no.
yeah, okay. So I think that might have been what sort of happened to him, but like, RIP to those who we lost, unfortunately. Uh, so I'm stepping on our monthly toes. I'm going to now segue into my weekly. 'Cause sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I've
Sure.
got a Hall of Fame elevator up and elevator down.
Elevator up, elevator down.
Uh,
Okay.
my elevator up's pretty easy, and it's kind of goofy if you think about it in a way. But Basketball Hall of Fame's weird. Get a big dunk, and that's all you need. So you already know where I'm going. My Hall of Fame elevator up is Anthony Edwards, who had one of the most incredible dunks in a regular season game. That shouldn't matter, but let's be blunt. Vince Carter is going to get into the Hall of Fame this year as
Mhm.
a dunker.
That's
Okay. Well, he's
what he
more
was
than that.
primarily known for. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you Google Vince Carter, the first word that comes after is dunk.
Hmm.
That's not the worst thing that it could be, but he's known for two dunks. The one in the NBA All Star
Olympics.
game, yep, and then the one in the Olympics where he scraped his balls over a 7 foot
I
Frenchman.
guess.
Uh, and Anthony Edwards had one similar in Minnesota. For those not paying attention, are pretty goddamn good.
Hmm.
So he's my weird elevator up because this shouldn't matter, and in any other sport, it wouldn't matter. But it's basketball.
No,
What does?
yeah, you see it was trending on Twitter and the people throwing together their top 5 dunks of all time, and things like that. Just kind of
Yeah,
shows where it kind of fell within that zeitgeist. And
exactly. I don't agree with it, but that's where we are. So that's
yeah,
what it is. And he's an elevator up.
yeah, and you mentioned the Vince Carter dunk, the Olympics. That's the one that comes to mind for me right away. The other one that I remember is the one where Giannis threw down over the Knicks. I'm blanking on the guy's name now.
Well, you
And
would remember that as
basically
or next guy,
basically
but yeah.
cleared them. It's, anytime one player clears another one, literally jumps over them. That's going to be one that sticks in your mind.
ESPN did an oral history on Vince Carter's dunk over a French guy in a game that really didn't matter.
Yes.
That there you go. That's all I need to say. My elevator down again. We talked about this a little bit earlier, and okay, so we're recording this on March the 21st evening. I don't know when this will go up. I don't know what to say here. My elevator down is the best player in the last 10 years in baseball. But it's Shohei Ohtani. I don't
Yeah,
know.
weird.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just say it's just a weird story that just kind of keeps taking different turns here as it kind of unfolds.
Something doesn't add up. So as we're doing this, well, because I can, because this is pretty much my job. I can't. I'm assuming you didn't wake up at 5 in the morning to watch the first 2 baseball games in Seoul, South Korea. I could do that.
No, I woke up at 5 in the morning to get ready for work.
Yeah.
Very good job.
Technically, this is my work. I just don't make as much as you, but I'm working on it. But I did do that. So game 1, we have Ohtani, and as they're doing that, they say there's something big is going to come up about gambling with his interpreter. And then when the big thing sort of comes up on ESPN, it was like, holy crap, his interpreter stole a bunch of money. Okay, then it comes out after, which gets recanted, but let's go with this weird ass timeline. I still can't wrap my head around this. Well, I have a gambling problem, and my best friend, because they're best friends, maybe not anymore, I don't know. Shohei offered to pay my debts, which is why his name's on something. Says that to the ESPN reporter, whose name I'm forgetting, and I apologize. I should have had this ready, but within 12 hours, that's recanted. No, Shohei knew nothing.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is going on here? I like conspiracy theories. I'm not Alex Jones conspiracy theory, but I like my conspiracy theories nevertheless. At the end of the day, I just sort of like go by what's the most logical. I'll just go by Occam's razor. What makes the most sense? So I'm to believe that his interpreter had access to his finances, even though they're best friends. It's possible.
Seems a little out there.
It's out there. Since did this because the law thing I don't quite understand, because my understanding is 40 states in the US you can legally gamble. I didn't know that you couldn't in all states, but apparently in California you cannot. It's one of the 10. You can loot and do everything else, but you can't gamble on sports. Go figure that one out. But that one you can't. So I have to believe that his interpreter had access to his funds and said, okay, you know what? I'm going to let you steal $4.5 million. I know he's worth nearly $1 billion. I still think you notice that.
Somebody's gonna notice it if it's his accountant,
right?
IRS, whatever, somebody's noticing that money gone.
So now he's saying that pretty much I did everything, da 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 da. Like I can't remember the name of the person who did this for Barry Bonds, but Bonds was never convicted or like never caught doing steroids because the person who would have had him dead to rights did nothing, said, I'll go to jail. I'm getting the same vibes here.
Yeah, I mean, from what we've kind of been allowed to hear so far, and don't think that Major League Baseball is not controlling the narrative here.
Of course they are.
To try to protect its meal ticket. So what we actually hear and what actually happened is probably going to be two wildly different stories.
So why Pete Rose keeps
Occam's razor, as you said.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway, and as you mentioned before, you open up X, and what's one of the paid trends right now? That MGM. So
yeah, I saw that before we went on. I did see that. Yeah. Well, also too, I mean, like, they were together the day of this announcement, the interpreter, from the initial reporting from the person who broke it at ESPN. This was coming out in January as they were sort of like trying to figure this out. I'm guessing, and I don't know. I don't know for sure. But this guy's going to take a fall for him. A significantly long-term fall, and will be paid substantially for it. Now, if I'm right, and baseball voters being the stuffiest bunch of fuckers we know, will they hold that against Ohtani? And will Ohtani, knowing that he pretty much just sent his best friend, again, if this is true, in my version of truth, because it's still possible that this guy did steal. Because when you're desperate, you're desperate. I don't think so, but I've been wrong before. No, I can admit that. Does this not mess with his head? Does not screw things up? And we've seen multi-time MVPs not get elected. They're not at the level of Ohtani, but still.
Right. I guess it depends on what they actually tell us the truth is. Well, we're not going to know the actual truth. Yeah. We're going to know the story that they want us to know. Yeah. And, how quickly does this get swept under the rug? And what kind of career does Ohtani have going forward? And if he continues on the same as he has up to now, it'll be a footnote in his history. I believe that he won't be impacted by this when it comes to Hall of Fame consideration.
It depends. I mean, like, they are the Hall of Fame voters in baseball are very stuffy.
More so than elsewhere, for sure.
Yeah, more so than elsewhere. I mean, like in football, Von Miller got popped for PEDs. Won't hurt him at all.
Nope. Nor will his off-field dalliances from this past season.
It will not. I mean, you have to go full Darren Sharper. Yeah.
As a Packer fan, I know exactly what you're talking about, and he was the Saints guy,
so I knew where I was talking from.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those are things that are really interesting to me because I'm working on my baseball revisions for the Not in Hall of Fame list, and those who have any kind of asterisk, blemish to the record are way lower than you'd think in terms of like the vote coming in. So like A-Rod's at 30% of people saying, yeah, put him in. Where who's at 90%? Some players don't make any sense to me, but I gotta reflect that. Whatever he did, like, this is not going away. And I think the other thing too that we sort of have to look at too, he flipped his story within 12 hours. Who got to him? who told him that, or or do I have to believe that, okay, I had a come to Jesus moment and I'm going to now tell the truth 12 hours later? You're asking a lot of me.
Yeah. No, the truth hasn't been told yet.
Yeah.
The honest truth. We've been fed a couple of stories. We're going to continue to be fed stories to try to move this along, minimize the negative press that it brings along, and we're never going to know the honest truth.
Does that make Pete Rose an elevator up?
Pete Rose has been an elevator up for me since he retired. So I was a fan of his when he played. The style of play he had. I that endeared him to me. So,
no, because it's something kind of similar. Like personally, I don't give a shit if a player bets on sports as long as it's not their game.
With Pete, he was betting on his sport though. That's the only kind of hang up that we know of so far.
Right, but he didn't. Did he bet on his games, or do you always bet them to win? I'm trying to remember.
I thought he always bet him to win, but
yeah, I got
the other
I
thing
gotta
too
remember,
is
yeah, I got to remember that. But I think the other difference though between Pete and Shohei, Pete rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and Shohei doesn't.
That's true. Yeah, and the whole gambling world is a lot different today than it was in the late '80s.
No, exactly. I mean, like, what show? Look, you watch as much sports as I do. You look at as much sports media as I do. ESPN's got their own bet thing, right? I can't remember the last time in a day and I watch sports every day where I haven't seen sort of like a betting thing on the
how many of these, stuff, podcasts are sponsored by DraftKings or, like I mentioned, BetMGM is a paid trend on X right now.
Sure.
Back when I was growing up, you had a local bookie that took bets in the bar, and your dad played in a football pool through his work. That was the gambling that you were aware of. Now it's
I may or may not have run one, but anyway.
I will not speak to my high school days.
Well, yeah, I got a story there, which I'll leave. But yeah, that's my elevator down because, again, in any other sport, I shouldn't say that. In hockey, they're kind of stuffy too. But yeah, do you want to close off with and take over, like, because Evan always closes with a good, bad, and ugly, or just is there something you just want to like bring up from the last week that just irks you or just inspires you? It doesn't have to irk you.
Well, we touched on a lot of stuff with like the tournament. I mean, that's obviously the big thing right now.
Yeah.
Baseball season starting. I've been really frustrated with baseball in general. I am not a fan of like the new rules, the pace of game stuff,
Oh, really?
the larger. Oh, I want to go back to watching the way it was when I went to games back when I was younger.
Oh,
I enjoyed just going there and getting lost for 3 hours. I didn't care.
well,
I enjoyed when games went
but yeah, no, I actually kind of enjoy the quicker pace.
Yeah, see, I'd rather sit there for, and just be, for lack of a better word, make a day of it. All this stuff with trying to speed everything up. Everything's going so fast, and everything is trying to get everything in and out in 2 hours. It just makes things feel rushed and feel uncomfortable. So I plus I hate the DH. I don't think it should be in either league.
Yeah, okay. I agree with you on that one. I've never been a DH guy ever. I hate that the NL went that way.
When Milwaukee moved from the American League to the National League, and they got rid of the DH, I was happy. And now they've made it, universal across the leagues. That is, that irritates me.
That's a
So
union, that's a union thing, sort of like helping a lot of 30-year-olds with bad knees. Says the 50-year-old with no knees.
with
All right, interesting. All right.
yeah.
So,
So baseball, I'd
so what we'll
rather sit
do
down and
when you visit me in Seattle, we'll go early so
Yep.
you get your 3 hours.
or we could just get a game from 1989 and watch that.
Don't get me started. I could do it. All right, love this. All right, well, thank you so much for sort of like stepping in here for Evan.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
I love this. There's so many other shows here in the Buchnerverse. Check them all out. A lot of other things that we are working on. Baseball revisions, football revisions. Look at them soon. That should be baseball in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So check a lot of that out, and a lot of other shows that we do. I'll promote Vinny's show. Vinny Los Venuso makes a lot of great Hall of Fame cases for. He's been doing a phenomenal job. And also, too, that way you can watch that in 10-minute increments as opposed to me going, bleh, bleh, bleh.
Yeah, he just did Jim Marshall, or released Jim Marshall.
Yeah, he just did that one. Yeah.
That's a good one. So yeah, check those out. When he does a good job. He's very thorough, very in depth, and turns over a bunch of stones to find information out about a lot of these guys that you may not know. And
he's not even 25. It's crazy.
That's right. He's got a passion for this, and
oh yeah,
it's great to see.
He's a savant. It's incredible. I see a lot of myself in him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul's doing a great job with the rewatch of the Super Bowls there.
Yeah, sometimes I'm sober for them.
So the show, and then obviously I'll plug our show. We have the elevator show.
Yeah. Elevator up, elevator down. We do that monthly. I have a feeling Ohtani is going to be back. I don't know. This is not over at all.
No.
Dear God.
We'll be recording that in about a week. So who knows what will change by that time.
Yeah, before I head out to the new home in Seattle, because the fine people in Seattle, Washington, they said, hey, not in Hall of Fame. We want you here, and we're going to give you X amount of dollars. But still, it's either going to be, maybe the Space Needle behind me might work, huh?
That would be interesting if you're able to set up a show from the top of the Space Needle.
I'll work
or
on it,
even in front of it with that in the background. That'd be kind of
there.
Cool.
You go.
Remind me of the old Seattle Supersonics logo.
Yeah, I got a hat of them somewhere. I gotta find it. But
yeah, you got to get a bunch of their merch when you get out there.
Oh, count on it. I'll send you some.
All right.
Wherever you are, wherever you may be, make today count, because it never comes again unless those films with space travel, time travel works. I don't think it does. Maybe. I don't know. All right. Take care, everyone.
Good night.